bicep pull, right? But we want to pull with our bottom hand, and we want to push with our top hand. So I think sometimes I see people are top hand or bottom hand dominant, where they're pushing, it's all top hand, and it's all arms. And you can see that because we're taught to press through the stroke, right? But the bottom hand, and I move over to the weights, like this. So, just the top hand, so if I was here, okay, so if I have the top end of my stroke here, and we talk about, so where should I be? Penny talked about where we should be in our top hand. But if I'm way back here, I got 25, I'll see if I can do 25 of doing the lat press. Maybe I can do 30. So I'm putting a lot of pressure on my shoulder here, all torque on my shoulder, and I'm coming across my body, right? So there I could do 30, right? So in this position here, I'm putting all my tension on my shoulder. My shoulder is in a weak position. I'm using all my stabilizing muscles, and I'm trying to gravitate power. If I reverse it, and I'm here, I can do this all day, right? So I can probably do 45 and do more here. So I can say I can do double what I can here, because I can't even do that. Where here, I'm pressing through. Now we're talking about the bottom arm and pulling through the stroke.
You gotta push it down.
Push it down. Oh, I got the So now I'm at 120. So when you think about pressing off their leg, rotating, and driving through, I can do this in pulling motion using my core and my body, and I am 4 times as much power generated with the pulling motion versus the pressing motion, right? So the bottom arm, I think we don't talk about the bottom arm pulling or generating power with the bottom arm enough, but we're generating around, depending on who you are, 4 times as much power by rotating, pressing off through our leg, and moving back. And I call that pulling. It's really not, because you're not really breaking your elbow. Your elbow's staying forward, and you're using your body. You are using back muscles, but you got leg muscles, you got your core, you got your back, you got all these big muscles pulling you up, right? So I find everybody's trying to slam the paddle, and the bottom arm's just kind of there for guidance. You can paddle with one finger, you can paddle like that. There should be using the bottom arm to pull through the stroke, and that's how we generate power, right? So today I won't talk, because we're going to get moving. I'll talk about top hand power, because both are important. When we set up, there's two strokes out there that are most common today, right? There's what I call the Asian stroke, right? Where they're hinging, they're not really rotating. They're hinging, they've got a top set up, and they're coming forward, they're planting with their body forward, and they're using their body to sit up, right? So they got a very high setup here, where their hands are above their heads, they're coming forward, planting, and they're crunching up, right? So it's very powerful. It's, one stroke, but they're winning with it. What I don't like about it is it puts so much tension on your top shoulder, right? So you're putting so much tension here that you're going to wear out your shoulder. So I always joke, why don't Asian countries have senior votes in their divisions? Yeah. Well, when they go around asking for volunteers, and none of them can lift their hand above their head and say, volunteer. Because I do think, especially in seniors division, we want to protect our shoulders. I mean, I've had shoulder injuries. It's common throughout drag boating, putting too much tension on your top hand, where you're tearing the smaller stability muscles in your hand, right? So staying up here and moving forward, unless you have really good flexibility, really good strength, it's putting a lot of strain on your shoulder, right? So I think Penny talked about being here instead of here, right? So the North American stroke, or I guess, well, I would say is more rotational, right? Instead of hinging and sitting up, we're rotating forward and planting. So you get a longer stroke with the kind of the outer stroke, you can get very fast. And they're smaller people, so they're not rock and roll. We tend to be, people of varying body sizes and not as young anymore. We don't get any forward. So just rotating, we rotate forward, we plant, and then we press through. So this type of stroke, when you get a longer stroke in, you can't go as, you're not doing 100 stroke rate. We're covering more water. Maybe we're not generating enough power, but I think for me, it's something for longevity wise, I think it's a better stroke, easier on the body, right? So that's what I focus on, is that stroke rather than slamming. The other thing about slamming it down here, you're going from zero tension in the air. So they're gathering momentum and power through the air so it continues when you hit the water, right? So here you have no tension and you're slamming your body down. What happens when you get tension? All of a sudden that goes right to your shoulder. So you're kind of jerking your shoulder almost every stroke. But it works. So top hand, I know Penny talked about, everybody's asking me, should I be at my forehead? Should I be out here? Where should I be? To me, I like to work backwards. And it's like, what angle do you want to be in the water, right? So for me, the people that are way out here stretching, if you can't breathe way out here, there's no way you're going to rotate that far for 2 minutes in a race, right? So to me, you're comfortable here, whatever you're comfortable, and I can hold this position for 5 minutes. This is probably going to be your full range in a race, right? So your top hand, going back, your top hand position where it is relative to your forehead depends on your body size, your length of your arms or some legs, the depth of the boat, how deep the water is, what type of paddle you're using. It could change on what type of race you're doing from a 2K to a 200 meter. So to me, all I care about is the angle entering the water, right? So if you assume the top of the earth, roughly, is my paddle's fully buried, I want a 30, 45 degree angle here, entering the water. This is my paddle, right? So I'm fully rotated, it's comfortable. This is what I want to maintain for the race. Now, if you have a longer paddle, I think some of these paddles, compared to the water, are short. They can shorten some of the paddles. I mean, a true paddle is probably here. For me, it's kind of roughly forehead, but it could change depending on your flexibility, your rotation, your length of the arms. But you want to get that positive paddle angle and then work backwards. So it's comfortable here. So you should elbow below the wrist. You don't want to be up here. You want to be down here. You want to be in a powerful position. Nobody exercises like this, right? So elbows below your wrist, comfortable here. This is your top arm position, right? Now, if I'm in a 2K race and I shorten stroke here, you can see it comes back, right? So, they say use your forehead. I want it close to the forehead. In my sprint race, I'm roughly here. In a 2K, I can be farther out, get a longer stroke, right? Because I'm reaching more forward, right? But if I do 200 meter, I'm done, right? So that arm length, what we're going to do for the first is, actually I'll go through the stroke first, is we want to plant and then we want to explode, right? So that's, we don't want to explode in the air. We're not catching water in the air. We want to plant and then pull back, right? So when we want to enter the water, we want to use our body for it, right? So we want our body to enter the water at the same speed as our hands. Our hands and body are working together, right? So I just want to use gravity. I want to rotate, get my paddle in, and then I'm going to press down on my accelerator, grab it, and I'm going to sit up, right? So this first exercise is about planting, being patient on your catch, and then we want to explode, right? So we want to build power in here. We don't want to be, we're going to plant, we can be in one speed, or plant to explode, right? So the mental cue for me is, you know, what we're going to do in the first one is probably extend our paddles longer than we normally would. We're going to keep the hand on the shoulder, right? So here, or on the forehead, and we're going to exaggerate this, again, the body down. So again, our hands and our body get the paddle buried, and then I'm going to use my foot. I'm going to try to separate my hand from my forehead as fast as possible, right? So we want to come down together until it's buried, and then we want to push off, and I want to create as much space between my hand and my forehead as I possibly can.
Mike, you're talking about, excuse me, you're talking about pulling. You're pulling with your body, not your bottom arm. When you say pull, that suggests
and
this
this
versus...
is the connotation that we're pulling like this, right?
Right. When you say the word pull, it sounds like you're...
Yeah, I say pull as in I'm using every part of my body. I'm driving with my foot. I'm rotating my hips. I'm using my core. I have a sit up because the sitting up makes your paddle stay positive longer, right? So I want to sit up over my paddle, and then so I'm using my lower back, my hamstrings, and I'm using my back muscles to move. What I'm not using is my biceps.
That's what I was going for, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.